Right, so this is the Funhouse stage tutorial for Mickey Mousecapade. This is the late chest route. This is a more advanced route since you won't be getting your power up right away. We're just going to skip it. So you'll see right away that we're not even entering that room to the right. We're just going to start heading through the stage without it. And you can already tell that you have to start maneuvering around some of these enemies a bit differently. Once you get used to just not having the early chest, it's not too bad, but you do see more resets. See, like right here, I kind of had to wait for that chair, so that's just one example. Like, you can't do anything in certain situations and you have to kind of wait. Again, this is overall faster. And even if like the Funhouse doesn't go as good as you think it would, it's still on average quicker or about the same as the other route. So we're actually in a very dangerous health situation here. But no reason not to continue until you die, in my opinion. Just keep powering through the stage and, you know, just trying to be a little careful. Again, since you skip that chest, you have a bit more time to afford to at least break even with as if you were to grab the power up early. So just keep that in mind. You just have to be a bit more careful, like even in this situation where the spiders are pretty close. So now, taking that death warp, you want to grab this chest in this room now since you're already in here. And you have both your power-ups. So you don't entirely skip this power-up, you just skip it early. So you still need both power-ups to effectively get through the game. And that wraps up the overview. We'll do a breakdown of this one as well. Alright, so we're not going to go into as much detail, especially with movement stuff. I recommend just watching the first video to kind of get caught up on that, because this is an advanced route, so I would assume by this point you know some of the basics of the game already. So we're going to get started here. As you can see, like the snakes, like I'm getting a completely weird rep. I got lucky here as well. But most of the time you are waiting for these snakes and you can lose up to a second or two. Sometimes you would even want to reset there, depending on how good your time is. Alright, so I'm immediately going up the stairs, taking damage again. You will be taking damage in more spots. One thing, like as you can see, like I'm like completely dodging the enemies obviously, but there's something you can do with ladders here if you're trying to avoid falling, and you can actually jump and like walk on the ladder a bit. As you can see here, like you'll see me kind of walk. It's kind of to just stop my fall, because if I fall here obviously I would take damage, so I kind of did this to like slow my fall a bit. So you can use that to your advantage in a couple spots. Okay, again, you're jumping over this guy to avoid triggering him. And sometimes you'll get some pretty rough patterns, like in this room, where you kind of have to just wait. Alright, this room in particular, where it's very easy if you have your power up, but if the chair is like this far to the left, you're probably going to take damage. Well, not take damage if you're careful. I took damage here because I got a little impatient, but you could avoid that hit completely. So as you can see, like I kind of jump to start to begin my jump over the chair here, but this is like one of the things that kind of slows you down. This doesn't always happen. Like sometimes you'll get a good pattern here and you just walk through. In this room, I went over this in the other video where you just jump in the same spot. Like here I don't actually get hit, so I can I do like a quick double jump when I don't get hit. So like I always jump in the same spot, I think. So like I jump like in this vicinity, jump over, and then I'm at the jump again because he shoots again. But again, completely random whether you get hit or not, because this bird will just poop on you. There you go. Alright, so in rooms like this, like if you're getting a pattern like this, I think even in the other video the spider's in the same damn spot, which isn't always the case. Like these enemies can be anywhere in this room. So just take damage. I kind of wait here because I didn't want to take damage from this guy as well, because if you take damage from him, it like throws off the sync of the room, and then like you can almost take a second hit because you're stuck while he's moving still. So I made the executive decision to just wait for him. Again, taking damage here. I probably could have just walked instead of jumped there, but sometimes you get lucky with a jump. You'll jump and like you'll completely miss the enemies. It's really hard to gauge the enemy movement in general, so it's just something that kind of comes with time. I mean, I took damage there, which is unfortunate. Like, this just goes to show you how difficult this route can be and how annoying it is. Because I'm already in a pretty bad health situation now. Like, this wouldn't be considered good. I mean, it took damage here as well, so this is just really bad. But I do want to note that you shouldn't give up. Don't just reset at this point. Like, you should just continue until you die. You know, if you don't... I'm not going to die through the rest of this, obviously, spoiler, but you just shouldn't, like, reset at this point. Just try to get through the stage. Okay, so now with no power-up, we're at the boss, so this is what we're going to do. You're always going to take damage here, basically. There is a pattern. I'll go over it later, but let's just go over this first, actually. So we're gonna take 2 hits here, like we normally would. Get your key. So now we got to be careful because we don't have our power up. So we got to wait until the wizard gets out of the way, right? And believe it or not, this is faster. This is like the route is still faster having to wait that long there. So let me just show you what I'm looking for to avoid the wizard. So the wizard's gonna jump like close to the table here. You're just gonna wait. Face this wall. This is just like a setup I use. You don't want to be any more right because you can take damage if you move too early. But as soon as the wizard, like as soon as he jumps, I start moving to the right from this spot. So me facing the wall all the way over here. Just start holding right and you'll clear him. And sometimes this guy will get in your way when you're trying to exit, so be careful. So we're down to 2 health. So you jump up the ladder here. Try to avoid this broom. Try to avoid taking damage here. With this low health, you don't want to take a hit from the chandelier. This room's pretty hard to handle. Like, again, I took damage here and I didn't want to, but it's okay. And I'm using the ladder again here to avoid falling, because I already lost my iframes. I don't want to do that, so just kind of use the ladder here to your advantage to stay in the air. Whoops. Video problems. Alright, so again, watch this. See, stay on the ladder here, then fall. So now you're going to want to be careful in this room because you got 1 health. Luckily I got a good pattern here. This is why you don't want to give up, because sometimes you just get good patterns. Now this is very scary. Like, you got 1 health, but this is also like the best possible pattern in this room. So the closer the spider is to the chest, the faster you can take a death. So, but these 2 spiders are pretty close together, so you want to be very careful. They can even spawn even closer together in some cases, which makes it easier, but this is just like almost worst case scenario, I would say. But with good jumping, you can jump between them. And then luckily I got my power up here. Obviously if this was a troll chest, it would be game over. So just immediately hold right and take the hit. So now you'll be spawning at the bottom of the screen, and you want to get this chest still. You still need to get this, because you still want both power-ups. Now just because you get that other chest first, it's still Mickey's power-up first. So Mickey gets his power-up first no matter what. So that just doesn't change anything. And that's it. That's it for the breakdown. I'm gonna go over a boss pattern real quick here. Alright, so this is probably one of the most important strats when you go for this route. It's called fast wizard skip. It's kind of a rare pattern, but you want to be able to detect it when you can, because you should just always go for it, even if it's going to cause you an instant death. I think it's just worth going for. So the movement is very tight here, but it can save you a lot of time. So I'm going to play it and then I'm going to go over it real quick. So you can actually beat the cycle. Alright, so let's go back here. Alright, so what's happening here is your movement has to be good again. So you have a lot that has to happen. One, this guy has to cooperate with you, so you don't have to like avoid him, do like an early jump or something. And then this projectile pattern has to cooperate as well. And then on top of that, you need to have really good movement. So this can save, like, I think 3 to 4 seconds if you do this, which will make the route even faster. I recommend watching Hyrexen's current PB, which is his 7:26, which is the record for like he has the best possible funhouse, I would say. Like, it's the best ever. It's a perfect example of like what happens if almost everything goes right. So and he gets this strat, but I'm gonna go over it here. So I'm jumping like around here, and then like the way you know you get this pattern is if you don't take damage right away when you get off the ladder. So like you can see that I'm not gonna take damage, and you actually have to exit this ladder like as optimal as possible. I have to immediately start holding left. You can kind of like, so what I've noticed is you can kind of get off a pixel early. So like you can kind of see that Mickey's feet are like right inside the border or the collision of the actual floor, and then he moves up. That's probably like the earliest you can get off the ladder. If you're like any lower than that, you get stuck. So you can't get stuck here. So if you get this pattern, you need to jump immediately, and you're gonna land somewhere over here, and then you're gonna want to jump immediately, like right, I would say right about here. I don't know how good the window is on this. It's very tight. So you're gonna jump again, and you kind of need to land in a very specific spot here, like just to where you get the chest, but you're also gonna kind of fall. You see how close this is? Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is my visual cue to know if I'm going to make it under the wizard or not. So you can kind of make an executive decision on whether you're going to go for this or not, like right on the spot. So if you feel like it's too late, then it's fine. So, all right. During that animation, you have quite a bit of time to see like where the wizard is, right? Okay. All right, so you see kind of the wizard's like his butt is kind of hanging, or I guess his robe or whatever you want to call it, and his feet here, and they are below the window's border. You see how you can kind of see it, that he's like a little low here. That is the visual cue I use to know that I can immediately start holding right after this and make it under him. If he's any higher than this, if he's like 1 pixel higher, you're most likely going to die. That's just from my experience. You have to kind of like, you have to kind of just mess around with this for quite a bit. But if he's right here, you should be able to make it every time. As long as your jump is good and you're like not all the way over here, like you gotta have a good chest grab too. So, and that saves a lot of time. You don't have to wait for the cycle. And that's pretty much it for this route.